Well,
Michelle, I think you're going to kick it off.
I'm happy to kick it off. I'm pleased that we're all here together today, and we've assembled a very interesting group for you, Mr. Emhoff and Secretary Vilsack. Carla Peterman, you met Carla in the Volunteer Center, has been a dedicated volunteer for a number of years. Di Daniels is a community activist from Storm Lake, and Di, over a course of a number of years, has built a pretty significant, very strong coalition in Storm Lake to take care of the immigrant population in Storm Lake. Last but not least is Isaiah Knox, and Isaiah runs Urban Dreams here in Des Moines and does a lot for folks living in poverty to help lift them up and out. Also using food. His food program has vastly expanded over the last couple of years, using food as a way to get people in the door and provide them with additional help. So we've got a rural perspective and an urban perspective here at the table today.
Thank you, Michelle. And it's great to be back in Iowa. I've been here many times over the last couple of years, and this is my first trip as second gentleman. The vice president sends her regards and wishes she would be here. But I'm here, and I'm here on a tour. I've been traveling around the country talking about the American Rescue Plan and how great that plan is. Americans are already feeling the benefits of it. Money has already hit accounts. Change is coming, and I know, Secretary, today is the day that the SNAP benefits have been increased by 15%, which is a massive, massive victory for Americans all over the country. Hunger is a real issue in this country. I saw it during the campaign all over the country when I traveled all over the country. And as second gentleman, it's an issue that I have been looking at. I've already traveled to several food banks and other organizations, both in DC and just last week in Nevada. I've also spent a lot of time learning about the issue, but I've also spent a lot of time listening and not talking. So I'm going to really listen to what you all have to say. And one of the best things about being married to the Vice President of the United States, every night she will ask me, honey, how was your day? And I literally go through and tell her who I met, what I talked about. And when I see the president, he says, hey kid, how you doing? And we talk about all the things I've been doing. So it really does work just like that. And this tour was incredible. As Michelle said, you can tour a lot of these places and not any one is the same. And this one is unique. I learned a lot. I learned about how things work. I went into the freezer. It was very cold. But you really, when you're able to see it in action, you're able to talk about it in a way that makes sense. So being able to see these things, see the pallets, see how the food comes in and how it goes out, and really to see the volunteers in action, doing what you do behind the scenes when there are no cameras. That is truly, truly remarkable, to do what you and the other volunteers have done during this pandemic, when the need for food in the United States of America, when you wouldn't think that would be an issue in this country, but it is. To do the work that you've done day in and day out, I thank you. I'm going to turn it over, I think, to either the Secretary or the Congresswoman. So
I'll defer to the Congresswoman, and then I'll wrap up.
Okay. I think, am I on? I think I am on. Okay, I'm hot. Well, thank you so much, Michelle, for having me here, of course, and so glad to have this conversation with all of you. Obviously grateful to see that we were able to pass the American Rescue Plan and get people back on track. Obviously, the 15% increase in SNAP is huge. We know that we're still seeing a lot of food insecurity. And even prior to COVID, you all know this, that unfortunately in a state that's called the breadbasket of the world, 20 to 25% of our kids have food insecurity here, and not to mention the adults. So we've got a long way to go, not just to move us through what's happening right now with COVID, but of course coming out on a better side and in a hope that everybody across this country has access to clean food that has the nutrients in it in their own backyard. And I know that in the House Agriculture Committee, we're working very hard on that. We've had our first hearing on food insecurity to bring to prominency the issue that we're facing in this country, to make sure that folks understand that Congress is very concerned about this, and we intend to, under the Biden-Harris administration, address this and hopefully eradicate hunger in this country. Because, to your point, in no way, shape, or form should our country even be facing the levels that we face when it comes to food insecurity. I think about things that I'm anxious to work on, and so glad to see Secretary Vilsack help us give some of those opportunities with the USDA and the programs that they're doing there that can help us better address folks with low incomes who need to get the nutrients in the food that are so desperately needed. But also to look at things like I hope to pursue more regional processing to allow us to be able to produce food in closer to home and be able to process it there and bring it to market. That destabilization of the market itself, I should say centralization of the market. Really has caused some problems for Iowa, and in particular in our rural communities who've lost a lot of economic viability as a result of that. So I think there's a lot that can be done when it comes to food security for this country, that we do not need to be where we're at. Second gentleman, I'm glad you're out here working on this, because as an American country, we need to be doing better by the people that we serve. I know we can, and I believe that Iowa should literally be a leader when it comes to that. So we're grateful that you're here to be working with us on this.
Thank you, Congresswoman. It's great to see you again. Secretary.
Yeah, thank you very much. Certainly want to welcome the second gentleman back to Iowa. He's been a constant visitor to the state, and I will tell you, shortly after the election, I received a call from the second gentleman, and he was interested in knowing what he might be able to do in that position and capacity. I suggested that he might want to focus in part some of his time on nutrition and food security issues, and he has made good on his commitment to doing that. And today's visit is an indication of his personal interest in this issue, and it's an interest that is shared by the Vice President and President and First Lady. As the Congresswoman has indicated, we have 43 million Americans in this country today that are living in homes where at the end of the month there just simply may not be enough to eat. Fortunately for those families here in Iowa and central Iowa, they have an enormously successful food bank program. Michelle, you have done an excellent job, you and your leadership team, in expanding this capacity and meeting the need for not just food security but nutrition security. We saw a good example of that in the freezer and the cold storage area. You welcomed a number of apples today from USDA, and we're happy to see that. And the backpack program, containing a lot of healthy snacks for kids to get them through the weekend. The second gentleman mentioned the increase in SNAP. This is really significant for two reasons. First, it will provide additional help and assistance for struggling families. To give you a sense of this, a family of four is going to receive, under this extension and expansion, about $102 additional each and every month for the next several months. Now that's going to make a big difference. But it also has an economic impact. The American Rescue Plan was designed not only to deal with the healthcare crisis that we face with COVID, but also to respond to the economic crisis that we have. And so when you invest in SNAP, you're also investing in job opportunities and the economy. About for every dollar that's invested in SNAP, you get a $1.50 return in the economy. That SNAP increase will support 47,000 jobs around America. So it's a significant step forward, in addition to the work that this administration has done in expanding opportunities for youngsters who fortunately unfortunately are not in school today. That's not necessarily the case here in Iowa as much as it is in other states, but there are schools that are closed right now, and kids are home. And those kids who would otherwise get a school breakfast or a school lunch at school aren't getting that. So parents are now faced with additional financial burden because of COVID. The pandemic EBT, which was part of COVID relief that the representative has voted for and supported, this administration increased that benefit by 16%, put additional $50 a month in those families' pockets so they can buy additional opportunities for school breakfast and school lunch to reimburse them for the cost that they're now providing at home. So there's that benefit. Then the rescue plan also expands significantly the WIC voucher, which is another opportunity for us to provide nutrition assistance. So this is an administration that understands and appreciates the full magnitude of the COVID situation. But at the end of the day, no matter how good the programs are, and I'll finish with this, we still require the food bank system. It's one of the most efficient distribution systems for help that we have in this country. And it's focused both on food security and nutrition security. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here and certainly want to thank the volunteers who make this possible. As good as Michelle and her leadership team is, they could never do it without the volunteers. You are critically important to this whole process. So I'm anxious to hear from you today. I'll be taking some notes and very interested in your take on how things are.